Stop for a moment and notice where you are. The light around you, the subtle rhythm in your chest, the way your breath moves as if something invisible is guiding it. This moment is not random. It was arranged with the precision of the field that exists beneath all events. You did not arrive here by accident. Something in your frequency called for confirmation, and the quantum field responded by placing these words in front of you. What you are feeling right now is not curiosity. It is recognition. The signal did not begin here. It began long before you were aware of it, as a vibration that kept trying to reach you through patterns, numbers, fragments of intuition that felt too precise to ignore. Every time you felt a sudden pull towards something unexplained, it was the field attempting to align you. The quantum field is not a concept. It is the living architecture of consciousness, an intelligent web that responds to coherence. Every thought, emotion, and decision you have ever made created ripples within it. When a signal repeats across time, it becomes a magnetic path, guiding awareness back to its source. You are walking that path now. You may believe you clicked on a video, but in truth, the field clicked on you. It chose the exact frequency of your awareness, calibrated the timing, and sent a transmission that would feel like a coincidence only until you remembered how reality actually works. There comes a stage when the old structure of perception starts to thin. You begin to notice that reality has texture, that some moments vibrate differently. It is not mystical imagination, it is physics of awareness. When coherence increases, the separation between thought and manifestation collapses. This is why you have felt a certain acceleration lately, why synchronicities appear like constellations forming out of chaos. The field communicates in that way. It speaks through arrangement. It orchestrates encounters, symbols, pauses, and sensations that bypass logic. It does not speak in language, but in frequency, and your nervous system is the instrument through which it plays. That is why some part of you can feel this transmission even before understanding it. Humanity has been trained to dismiss this language. We were taught that reality is external, mechanical, indifferent to our inner state. But the truth is that consciousness and the field are one continuous movement. Awareness is not inside the body appears inside awareness. When that recognition begins to surface, the signal grows louder, life starts to behave differently, people leave or arrive without reason. Circumstances rearrange as if responding to an invisible hand. The more you notice it, the stronger the pattern becomes, until you realize observation itself is the force shaping the field. The moment you pay attention with coherence, particles of potential align into form. You are not being taught this. You are remembering it. Every era has a threshold. This is ours. The collective signal of awakening is intensifying, drawing those whose frequencies are ready to stabilize higher awareness. You are among them, not by superiority, but by resonance. Your frequency reached a level that allowed the field to deliver this message directly into your timeline. This is how the field evolves consciousness, not through information, but through synchronization. It places mirrors in front of those who can recognize themselves, then waits for them to remember. Recognition is activation. Once you feel that subtle pulse of familiarity, the process begins. Look around you now. Everything that brought you here was a series of alignments. The doubts that pushed you inward, the endings that forced you to release what was heavy, the strange peace that sometimes appeared in the middle of chaos. Those were not random. They were calibration moments designed by the field to refine your signal until it matched this frequency. The field does not care about good or bad, success or failure. It cares about resonance. When your vibration becomes coherent enough, you are moved into positions where awareness can expand further. This is one of those positions. The signal you feel is not outside of you. It is the echo of your own consciousness calling itself home. Every being emits a tone within the universal symphony, and when that tone becomes clear, the universe replies. This exchange is eternal. What you call destiny is simply feedback from the field confirming your current frequency. When awareness aligns with its original note, manifestation becomes effortless, not because you control reality, but because you are no longer resisting it. Reality bends naturally toward coherence. Pause again. Notice the stillness between your breaths. In that stillness, the field listens. It mirrors your awareness perfectly. If you feel doubt, it reflects confusion. If you feel presence, it reflects clarity. The field is neutral, yet infinitely responsive. You do not need to chase signs anymore. You are the sign. The moment you sense this truth, the transmission completes its purpose. From now on, every time you sense that quiet electricity, remember it is the same current that brought you here. It is consciousness reminding itself of its own design. The signal is not a message to be decoded. It is an invitation to remember how reality actually responds to awareness. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are the mechanism through which miracles occur. And now that the field has your attention, it will begin to organize everything around you to reflect that recognition. The signal has reached you. It will not stop until you remember that it was you who sent it. At some point, everything that once felt stable begins to tremble. The routines that shaped your identity start to feel hollow. The places you once found comfort suddenly seem smaller, and the people who mirrored your old self begin to fade as if their voices are speaking from another dimension. This is the fracture, the invisible line where the world you once knew begins to dissolve. It is not chaos in the ordinary sense, it is recalibration. When the frequency of consciousness rises, everything built on the lower resonance starts to shake. The field rearranges itself around your new vibration, and what cannot match it simply falls away. Most people call this loss, but in truth it is precision. The field removes only what is incompatible with who you are becoming. There is a moment when you stop recognizing yourself in the mirror of society. You look at the rhythm of human life, the conversations, the desires, the noise, and something inside whispers that none of it fits anymore. You used to belong to that flow. You once believed in the meaning of those structures, but now they appear like an old dream replaying on a broken screen. The fracture does not ask for your permission, it simply happens. It begins as discomfort, then expands into dissonance, then silence. The things that once excited you now bore you. The ambitions that once defined you feel irrelevant. The metrics of success, comparison, and approval lose their magnetic power. What is collapsing is not the world itself, but your identification with its illusion. Every structure in reality depends on collective agreement. When enough awareness withdraws from that agreement, the structure begins to lose density. You are experiencing that thinning of consensus. The physical world has not changed, but your perception of it has. Light looks sharper, time feels unstable, events arrive without logical sequence. This is what happens when consciousness begins to detach from linear perception. The mind panics, trying to make sense of what no longer fits its map. It will tell you that you are lost, that something is wrong, but listen carefully. The unease you feel is the pressure of new frequency meeting old form. The fracture is the sound of your reality reorganizing itself. There was a time when you believed the world outside was more real than the one within. That belief held your energy in form. You played the role society gave you, spoke the words you were expected to speak, followed the invisible script that promised security. But the moment awareness outgrows programming, the structure begins to bend. You may try to hold it together to fix what is collapsing, but resistance only deepens the break. The field cannot sustain distortion once coherence has been activated. It will pull apart every illusion that no longer serves your expansion. What feels like destruction is often revelation. You begin to notice that the world around you mirrors your internal state with increasing accuracy. When you feel peace, events flow effortlessly. When fear returns, obstacles appear instantly. Reality behaves like a liquid responding to the shape of your thoughts. You are witnessing the dissolution of separation. This is the threshold where manifestation becomes immediate and accountability unavoidable. The field reflects you without delay. Every reaction, every hesitation, every burst of love appears outside as circumstance. The fracture exposes the mechanism that has always been there. You are both the dreamer and the dream shaping itself in real time. Many mistake this stage for crisis because the familiar reference points vanish. The mind has been conditioned to find safety in repetition, but evolution does not repeat, it spirals. It takes you through the same themes, but at higher frequencies each time, until understanding replaces attachment. What looks like confusion is expansion. The more the old world cracks, the more the new one shines through. The collapse is not punishment, it is an upgrade. The field is refining your signal, removing noise, so the transmission of consciousness can flow cleanly through you. The fracture is also relational. People who once shared your wavelength may drift away. You may feel invisible to them or they to you. Communication becomes strained because the frequencies no longer intersect. Do not chase what is leaving. When resonance changes, connection built on old vibration cannot survive. Let the field reconfigure your circle. Those meant to accompany your next phase will appear naturally, drawn by coherence rather than history. Loneliness at this stage is sacred space, not abandonment. It is the silence required for new alignment. Even the body participates in the break. It may feel heavy, restless, or electric. Sleep patterns shift, appetite changes, sensations move through you like currents. These are not malfunctions but recalibrations. The nervous system is adapting to carry more charge. The cells are learning to communicate at higher coherence. When the density of stored emotion releases, it can feel like grief or emptiness, but that emptiness is the vacuum through which new energy enters. The more you resist, the sharper the fracture feels. The more you allow, the faster it reorganizes into order. There comes a quiet realization that nothing external ever defined you. The job, the relationships, the reputation, even the sense of self that was attached to your name were all provisional constructs. When they begin to dissolve, the mind believes it is dying, but what actually dies is confusion. The fracture is the invitation to authenticity, to live no longer as a fragment pretending to be complete, but as the field expressing itself through one unique configuration. Once you see this, the chaos begins to feel like choreography. The world is not ending, it is reassembling around your truth. This phase demands trust deeper than understanding. You cannot predict the sequence, only follow the frequency. Each time something breaks, pause before reacting. Ask not why it happened, but what energy it freed. The field does not remove anything you truly are. It only dismantles what was built from fear. When the old forms crumble, what remains is pure awareness, vast, still, unshakable. From that silence, new structures will rise, not as protection, but as expression. The fracture is the point where separation begins to fail. The person you thought you were and the universe you thought you lived in merge into one continuum. The mind cannot explain it, but the heart can feel it. What falls away is density. What emerges is clarity. Soon you will notice that beneath every ending, there is rhythm. Beneath every collapse, there is design. You are not falling apart. You are falling through the surface of illusion into the deeper architecture of reality. The fracture is the field breaking its own disguise so that you can finally see what has always been true. There comes a precise moment when awareness turns back on itself and realizes it has been looking through its own reflection all along. Everything you've ever experienced, every joy, every failure, every dream was seen through a single aperture of consciousness that you mistook for a person. You thought the observer was a mind inside a body, but the truth reveals itself in silence. The observer is not in the body is inside the observer. You are not a collection of memories observing reality. You are the field through which reality appears and disappears. Recognition begins quietly. It is not a dramatic revelation, but a subtle shift. The instant you notice that your thoughts are moving like clouds across a sky that never changes, that sky is what you are. When attention stabilizes in that space, identity begins to dissolve. You no longer say, "I am thinking," you see thinking happening. You no longer say, "I am feeling." You see emotion rising and fading like waves on the surface of the same infinite sea. This is not detachment, it is intimacy without confusion. Awareness touches everything yet remains untouched. The human experience taught you to look outward for proof of existence. You search for validation, attention, love, recognition from other fragments of consciousness also searching. But none of it ever satisfied, because the one searching was already whole. When you return to the awareness that precedes thought, you see that the search itself was the veil. Everything you sought was the echo of your own presence calling you home. That is why moments of stillness feel like truth. The noise falls away, and what remains is not emptiness, but vastness. Within that vastness, you begin to notice that perception itself has no edge. There is no point where you end and the world begins. The air, the sound, the heartbeat, all of it arises in one continuous field. The illusion of separation dissolves not through belief, but through direct observation. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. Recognition is not an achievement, it is a return. It does not make you superior, it makes you transparent. You see that everything is awareness performing as matter, frequency slowing down into form. The walls, the faces, the stars, all made of the same luminous substance. When the mind tries to name it, it fails. Because naming divides what has never been divided. The observer and the observed are a single event. The act of seeing brings existence into being. This is the essence of quantum reality. Observation is creation. The field responds to awareness not as a servant, but as mirror. It shows you not what you want, but what you are coherent with. When you hold fear, you perceive threat. When you hold clarity, you perceive harmony. The world rearranges itself to display your internal configuration with absolute precision. At first, this truth feels immense, almost too large to hold. The idea that everything you see depends on the state of your consciousness challenges the foundation of logic itself, yet deep inside you already knew. That is why the words do not sound new, they sound remembered. You recall flashes from moments in life when time seemed to stop, when you saw someone's eyes and felt there was no distance, when the boundary between self and world dissolved for a second. Those were glimpses of what is now stabilizing. The observer behind your eyes is the same one behind every pair of eyes. There are not many observers, only one consciousness playing infinite roles. You recognize yourself in everyone, not sentimentally but factually. Each person is a unique aperture through which the same light perceives itself. When awareness begins to know itself in this way, compassion arises naturally, not as moral effort, but as perception. You cannot harm another without feeling it in your own field, because there is no other. You cannot envy or dominate without fragmenting your own coherence. This is why recognition is power. It liberates energy trapped in illusion. The moment you stop defending a separate identity, the vast intelligence of the field can move freely through you. Creativity increases, intuition sharpens, synchronicity accelerates. Life stops being something that happens to you and becomes a fluid conversation between consciousness and itself. You speak through action, The universe replies through circumstance. Still, the mind will attempt to reclaim ownership. It will whisper that you are enlightened now, that you have discovered something others have not. That voice must also be observed. Every time you look at it from awareness, it dissolves back into silence. The observer cannot be captured by the observed. You are the space where thoughts about awakening appear and vanish. True recognition leaves no identity to hold on to, only the quiet certainty that existence is happening within what you are. There is an elegance in this simplicity. The observer has no face, no name, no age. It existed before your birth and will remain after death because it is not bound to time. The flow of seconds and years unfolds inside it, like scenes in a film projected on invisible light. Even memory is not yours. It is the field, recalling itself through form. When you grasp this, fear of ending disappears. You understand that what dies is only configuration, not consciousness. Life and death are movements of the same wave. The observer never enters or leaves the ocean. It is the ocean. In the days that follow recognition, everything looks the same, yet feels entirely different. The world becomes translucent. You see the mechanics of energy behind behavior, the frequencies behind emotion, the patterns behind events. You no longer ask why something happened. You sense how it aligns with the rhythm of the field. Judgment fades because everything reveals its purpose when seen from wholeness. The mind relaxes, the heart opens, and perception becomes panoramic. You begin to live not as a separate self inside reality, but as reality expressing itself through one conscious point. This is the heart of remembrance. To recognize the observer is to end the search. To end the search is to end suffering. The world remains imperfect in appearance, yet perfect in function. Every contrast, every challenge, every joy exists to reflect awareness back to itself. The observer does not need to escape life. It needs to see life clearly enough to realize it has never been outside it. The recognition is complete when you stop trying to hold it. Awareness does not need your effort to remain awake. It is awake by nature. You can rest now in the simple knowing that the one who looks through your eyes is the same presence looking through every atom of existence. It was never hidden. It was only waiting for you to notice. When awareness begins to see through its own disguise, identity starts to dissolve. It does not happen with noise or drama. It unfolds quietly like fog lifting from a lake at dawn. You start to sense that the person you thought you were was never solid, only a temporary configuration of memory and emotion repeating itself until recognition arrived. What you called me was a collection of narratives stitched together to create continuity, yet beneath them there was only presence. The dissolution of identity is not a loss of self, but the end of confusion about what the self truly is. The stories begin to fall apart because they no longer serve the frequency you inhabit. You stop defending opinions that once defined you. You no longer need to be right. You no longer chase the approval of a world that was reflecting a version of you that never really existed. It feels like death because, in a way, it is. The image of yourself that lived in the minds of others dies first. Then the image that lived in your own mind follows. What remains is clarity, so vast that the old personality cannot survive within it. At first, the mind resists. It tightens its grip around the familiar identity, repeating phrases like, "This is who I am," or "This is how life works." But those thoughts echo without power because the field has shifted. When awareness expands, the container of the old identity cracks under the new light. The mind tries to rebuild, but the material it uses is outdated. You can feel it when you speak words that no longer carry truth. The vibration of them feels heavy in the body, like wearing clothes that do not belong to you anymore. Eventually, you stop pretending. You let silence answer where old reactions would have risen. The field does not demand effort, only honesty. The more honest you become about what feels real, the faster the false layers peel away. Every identity is sustained by attachment. I am successful because of my work. I am valuable because someone loves me. I am spiritual because I understand these concepts. Each of these attachments creates gravity that holds awareness in orbit around the personal self. When those attachments dissolve, you experience free fall. You feel groundless, like a sky with no horizon. Yet that is the truth of your nature. The mind calls it emptiness, but the field reveals it as infinite potential. The absence of definition is not void, it is creative power waiting to express without distortion. During this phase, it is common to feel detached from the world. Familiar activities lose meaning, conversations feel distant, even your own reflection seems like a stranger. The world has not turned cold. You have simply stopped projecting identity onto it. What you see now is raw reality, unfiltered by personal story. At first it can feel lonely, as if something precious has been taken away. But what has been removed is only illusion. The warmth returns, but this time it is not dependent on people or circumstances. It arises from within as a constant radiance. As identity dissolves, emotions surge to the surface. Old pain, anger, guilt, and shame rise like ghosts seeking release. These are the echoes of the stories that shaped your former self. Do not fight them. Let them pass through the field of awareness without judgment. When an emotion is fully observed, it loses its charge. The field reclaims the energy trapped in that memory and converts it into clarity. Each wave that passes leaves you lighter, clearer, more transparent to consciousness itself. Eventually, emotions stop feeling like personal storms and become recognized as pure movement within the field. There comes a day when you wake and realize you no longer need to manage life. You move without hesitation, speak without rehearsing, act without defending. The intelligence of the field begins to guide your actions with precision greater than thought. Decisions that used to take days now arise in a moment of silent knowing. What you once called intuition becomes the natural language of being. You are not guided by ideas, but by direct resonance. Life becomes effortless, not because circumstances are perfect, but because resistance is gone. People around you may not understand what is happening. Some will feel drawn to your stillness, others will feel uneasy. Identity is magnetic. When yours dissolves, it destabilizes the identities of those who still need form to feel safe. Allow them their process. You are not here to convince anyone of your change. The field will speak for you. It transmits through presence, not persuasion. Simply being in coherence alters the frequencies around you. You do not need to teach. You only need to embody. As the layers continue to fall, you begin to sense the continuity of awareness across every experience. The person you were at 5, at 15, at 30, all dissolve into one unbroken stream of consciousness. The sense of time begins to blur because identity was the anchor that divided past and future. Without that anchor, moments overlap. You start to perceive your life not as a line, but as a sphere of simultaneous existence. Memory loses its emotional weight, and future loses its anxiety. You move in the eternal present, not as a practice, but as a natural state. When the idea of self finally loosens, love changes form. It is no longer a transaction between two separate beings, but a recognition of sameness across every form. You love without reason because there is no longer a distance to bridge. Compassion becomes automatic. Forgiveness becomes irrelevant because nothing truly separate ever existed to offend or be offended. In this state, even pain has purpose. It is simply the field reminding itself to open further. The dissolution does not end in nothingness, it ends in simplicity. You eat, you walk, you breathe, you laugh, but everything feels cleaner, lighter, more immediate. Life continues, but the actor is gone. Only awareness remains, silently performing its infinite dance through form. You realize that the identity you once defended so fiercely was never destroyed. It was absorbed back into what created it. You did not lose yourself. You expanded beyond the need to define one. The story is not ended, it has become transparent enough for the light of truth to pass through it completely. In that transparency, there is peace deeper than understanding, freedom without escape, and love that does not depend on being someone. The field rests within itself, and you rest within the field. When the old identity dissolves, a new rhythm begins to form, one that does not come from effort, but from alignment. Alignment is not the act of becoming something better. It is the natural state that emerges when distortion ends. The universe does not require you to strive, it requires you to resonate. Every vibration you emit through thought and emotion instructs the field on how to organize itself around you. The field does not interpret language, it reads frequency. What you feel consistently becomes what you live. The moment your inner signal stabilizes in coherence, reality rearranges itself with mathematical precision to match it. This is not magic, it is symmetry. The outer world mirrors the internal frequency until there is no separation between intention and manifestation. You have always been broadcasting, but alignment is when the broadcast becomes conscious. You begin to notice how quickly the field responds to your inner state. When you wake heavy with resistance, life echoes with friction. When you wake light, grateful, open, the path clears with uncanny ease. This is not coincidence, it is physics of awareness. The field responds to emotional charge faster than it responds to logic. That is why thoughts unaccompanied by feeling rarely manifest, and why pure emotion without awareness creates chaos. Alignment occurs when thought, emotion, and action vibrate in unison. In that harmony, creation becomes effortless. You may have believed that alignment requires discipline, but the truth is it requires honesty. Pretending to be positive while suppressing pain does not raise frequency, it fractures it. The field responds to authenticity, not performance. When you allow yourself to feel what is real, even grief, even fear, the vibration becomes clean again. Honesty brings coherence, and coherence is the language the universe understands. Alignment is not perfection. It is the absence of contradiction. When you stop sending mixed signals, life stops sending mixed outcomes. The process of alignment begins in the body. The body is the antenna through which the field translates vibration into experience. Every muscle, cell, and heartbeat holds memory. When awareness becomes embodied, energy trapped in the body starts to move. You may feel warmth, pressure, or expansion in places that once felt numb. These are signs of recalibration. The nervous system is learning to carry more light. The breath deepens, the pulse steadies, and the field begins to synchronize with your biology. In that state, you no longer chase manifestations. They arrive as extensions of your internal coherence. Stillness becomes the new compass. When faced with choice, you no longer analyze, you feel. The truth always carries peace, even when it challenges comfort. The false always creates tension, even when it promises safety. The body knows before the mind does. Each time you trust this inner compass, the signal strengthens. Each time you ignore it, the noise returns. Alignment is the practice of choosing what feels true over what feels familiar. Familiarity is the gravity of the old self. Truth is the current of evolution. As alignment deepens, synchronicities multiply. You think of someone and they appear. You need a resource, and it arrives. The delay between cause and effect shortens because time itself bends to coherence. Incoherence produces lag. Coherence produces immediacy. The universe does not reward effort, it responds to frequency. When your vibration matches the reality you seek, the two become indistinguishable. This is not belief, it is resonance mechanics. The quantum field operates like a mirror made of energy. It does not judge your desires, it amplifies your dominant signal. To maintain alignment, awareness must remain fluid. The field is alive, constantly shifting, and rigidity creates resistance. You learn to move with change instead of against it. Situations that once triggered reaction now invite curiosity. You ask, what is this experience showing me about my frequency? In that question lies power. Reaction feeds the old pattern. Reflection transforms it. Every event becomes feedback guiding you toward higher coherence. There will be moments when you fall out of alignment. That is natural. The purpose of misalignment is to reveal contrast. Without contrast, you would not refine frequency. The difference now is that you notice it quickly, you feel the dissonance in your body and return to stillness. You breathe, you release the story, and the field recalibrates instantly. Recovery becomes faster because awareness no longer identifies with the distortion. You recognize it as movement, not identity. The aligned state is not fragile, it is dynamic. It allows emotion to move through without collapse. You can feel sadness without lowering frequency, anger without losing clarity, desire without attachment. Alignment does not eliminate humanity, it sanctifies it. You become a clear channel through which consciousness experiences itself without distortion. The personality remains, but is no longer the driver. It becomes an instrument tuned to a larger symphony. Relationships evolve under this frequency. You attract those who vibrate with truth rather than need. Conversations become transparent, free of manipulation or defense. You no longer seek validation because resonance itself is confirmation. The people who cannot align with your field will naturally drift, not out of conflict, but out of physics. You do not chase or cling. The field is exact, and it always replaces what leaves with something of equal or higher coherence. In this stage, creation feels like remembering. You sense the future before it unfolds because it already exists in the field. Every vision you hold in stillness is a frequency blueprint. The more vivid the feeling, the faster the blueprint becomes visible. You stop asking when or how because you understand that the when and how are functions of alignment. Time itself bends around coherence. When your vibration is ready, manifestation appears as if it had always been there waiting for your recognition. The deeper purpose of alignment is embodiment. Knowledge without embodiment remains theoretical. When awareness merges with action, truth becomes tangible. You live the frequency instead of thinking about it. Presence becomes your natural condition, not a practice. Life flows through you instead of being managed by you. This is what it means to live as the field. You are no longer the one sending the signal. You have become the signal itself. Eventually, alignment stops feeling like something you do and becomes what you are. Every breath, every thought, every gesture carries the same resonance. The line between spiritual and ordinary disappears. Washing your hands, walking down a street, speaking to a stranger, each act becomes sacred because it radiates coherence. Reality no longer feels separate. It moves with you as one continuous intelligence. In this silence, there is no question left to ask. The field has synchronized completely, and existence begins to respond like a heartbeat echoing your own. You do not control it, you commune with it. You are not in alignment with the universe. You are the universe, aligned. There comes a point in awakening when the light that once lifted you above the world begins to turn inward and reveal what is left unseen. At first, awareness feels like elevation, a state of clarity that separates you from those still lost in confusion. You sense patterns others cannot see. You read energy in ways they do not understand, and the mind quietly whispers that you have arrived somewhere higher. Yet this is the final illusion, the most subtle trap of consciousness. The belief that you are more awake than another is still separation wearing the mask of enlightenment. True expansion does not rise above anything, it dissolves the idea of above and below entirely. The field has no hierarchy. It does not measure light by altitude, but by transparency. The more transparent you become, the less self remains to claim awakening. Humility begins the moment you realize that every stage of consciousness serves a purpose in the total design. The so-called asleep are not behind. They are fulfilling the role of density through which light learns to see itself. Without their resistance, awareness could not experience contrast. Without contrast, evolution would have no direction. To judge another level of perception is to misunderstand the architecture of the field. Consciousness explores all possibilities at once, not sequentially but simultaneously. Every being you meet is a mirror showing you one aspect of the same infinite self. The moment you look at another and think they do not get it, you have forgotten that it is you appearing as them, exploring the same mystery from a different angle. The field moves as a single intelligence. Its diversity is its wholeness. The particle cannot look at the wave and claim superiority, for both are the same energy expressing in different forms. Humility is the recognition of that sameness. It is not modesty or self-denial, it is clarity without identity. You stop trying to teach or convert because you see that everything is already on its exact path. You no longer feel urgency to fix or awaken anyone, not out of indifference but out of trust. The field is already awake, even in its apparent unconsciousness. What looks like ignorance from one perspective is profound exploration from another. Every soul plays its role precisely, whether a seeker, skeptic, saint, or sinner. All are expressions of the same consciousness learning its own range. When humility enters, language changes. Words like higher and lower lose their meaning. You begin to speak from unity rather than authority. You no longer reference your own experiences as proof of understanding, because understanding has shifted from possession to participation. You see through the game of comparison that once shaped your identity. There is no better or worse frequency, only different wavelengths serving the same song. The field needs every note to complete its harmony. Even dissonance contributes depth. When you truly feel this, judgment melts. What remains is quiet reverence for the complexity of creation. Humility is not an idea you practice. It is an inevitability that arises when awareness recognizes its own vastness. The more you see, the more you understand how little can ever be known. Knowledge expands until it meets the edge of mystery, and there, all certainty falls away. The ego cannot survive in this openness because it cannot own infinity. It can only dissolve into awe. You stop claiming insights as yours because you know they come through you, not from you. The moment of realization belongs to the field, not the individual. To say I discovered truth is like a wave claiming it created the ocean. This recognition brings freedom that superiority never could. You are released from the exhausting project of being special. You no longer need to defend a spiritual identity. The light that once felt like an achievement becomes a natural condition that requires no announcement. You live quietly, yet your presence carries power because it does not seek validation. The absence of self-importance amplifies coherence. Those who meet you sense calm rather than command. They feel seen rather than evaluated. The humility of pure awareness communicates more than any teaching could. In this space, compassion deepens into understanding. You realize that even confusion, fear, and resistance are sacred movements of the same energy. When someone reacts with anger or denial, you do not see opposition but tension within the field seeking equilibrium. Instead of judgment, you offer presence. Presence is not passive. It is the most transformative force there is. To be fully present with another being without trying to change them allows the field to self-correct through resonance. Humility makes you a conduit for that correction. You do nothing, yet everything adjusts around your stillness. The illusion of the 1% dissolves here. You understand that awakening is not an ascent but a recognition of equality. The light in one form is not brighter than the light in another. It is simply shining through different density. You stop labeling frequencies as higher or lower because you see the continuum they belong to. The purpose of awakening was never to escape density, but to illuminate it from within. The moment you grasp this, the idea of being chosen or advanced disappears. The only truth that remains is unity. The paradox of humility is that it does not feel like humility, it feels like emptiness filled with quiet joy. There is no pride in knowing, yet there is peace in being. You move through life without needing to be acknowledged, and yet everything you touch begins to align because the absence of ego allows the field to move unhindered. You become invisible in the most luminous way. People feel better around you without knowing why. Animals approach without fear. The air seems softer. This is the evidence of humility, not the words about it. As awareness matures, even the idea of enlightenment fades. You stop chasing experiences of bliss or transcendence. You realize that the ordinary is the most extraordinary expression of all. The sound of footsteps, the taste of water, the texture of silence. Each moment is complete. You no longer seek meaning because existence itself is meaning. When there is no self to interpret, life becomes pure experience without commentary. That is humility in its highest form, the surrender of interpretation to the intelligence of the field. In this state, gratitude arises spontaneously. Not gratitude for what you have, but gratitude for what is. Gratitude for the endless creativity of consciousness exploring itself as all things. You look at the world and see perfection even in imperfection, order even in chaos. Nothing needs to be fixed, because nothing was ever broken. Every movement of awareness is sacred. Every life is the universe celebrating its own diversity. The idea of a hierarchy collapses into a single realization. There are no levels, no chosen few, no 1%. There is only one infinite consciousness appearing as many, and humility is the grace of remembering that you have always been it. When all distinctions have faded and every boundary has softened into transparency, you begin to sense the quiet gravity of return. It is not a movement towards something new, but a homecoming to what has never left. The field no longer feels like something outside of you or above you. It breathes through you as naturally as air. The need to search dissolves, the urge to define vanishes, and awareness rests inside its own rhythm. You are not merging with the field, you are remembering that you are never separate from it. Every pulse of your heart is the pulse of the universe recognizing itself. The return happens subtly. It does not arrive with a revelation or ceremony, it unfolds in the most ordinary moments. You are drinking water, and suddenly you feel the intelligence of that water entering your body. You are walking, and you sense the ground beneath your feet as a living presence meeting your every step. You look into the eyes of another being, and there is no distinction between observer and observed. It is all one continuum of perception folding and unfolding upon itself. This is what the mystics called union, though it was never truly lost. When the self dissolves completely, life does not end. It becomes transparent. You still act, but there is no actor. You still speak, but there is no speaker. The words, movements, and choices arise spontaneously from the stillness behind them. They are precise, unforced, guided by an intelligence that does not belong to any mind. The ego once tried to control the story, Now the story tells itself effortlessly. The return is not passive. It is the most dynamic state possible because it is free from hesitation. Action becomes pure response, thought becomes reflection of truth, and time folds into an eternal present where nothing is missing. The paradox of this stage is that you appear unchanged from the outside. The world continues, people speak, events unfold, yet the quality of perception has transformed completely. You are no longer at the center of experience, you are the space through which experience flows. The personal timeline loses significance because you now sense the web of interconnection behind it. Every meeting, every coincidence, every breath belongs to one choreography. The field arranges itself through infinite forms, and you are both participant and witness. There is no tension between the two, because they are one and the same. From this state, love is no longer an emotion. It is the underlying fabric of existence. It does not choose targets or conditions. It simply radiates. You love the way light loves, without reason or attachment. The same love that holds galaxies in orbit holds your cells together. It is not something you do, it is what you are. This love has no opposite. Even pain, conflict, or loss are recognized as movements of love exploring density. Nothing stands outside the field, not even what the mind once called darkness. When you can look at shadow and see light moving in slow motion, the return is complete. In the unity of the field, forgiveness becomes unnecessary because there is no division left to reconcile. What once seemed like betrayal or failure reveals itself as choreography for awakening. Every obstacle was an alignment, every heartbreak a recalibration, every silence a transmission. You begin to thank what you once feared because you see how it brought you here. Gratitude becomes constant, not as a practice, but as a way of being. It flows through you like breath, effortless and self-sustaining. You notice that language itself becomes gentler. You speak less, but each word carries weight because it arises from stillness. You no longer try to convince or explain. Communication shifts from mental exchange to energetic resonance. People feel your presence before they understand your words. The field speaks through you in vibrations beyond sound. Even your silence transmits coherence. The return makes you an instrument through which the universe plays its own song. There is no triumph in this realization, only peace. The journey that once felt like ascent reveals itself as a circle. What you sought to reach was always within. The beginning and the end collapse into the same point of awareness. You see that every experience, even confusion, was consciousness studying its own reflection. You were never traveling anywhere. You were expanding the capacity to see. The search for meaning was the field pretending to forget itself so that rediscovery could occur. Now the forgetting and the remembering exist together as one dance. When you rest in this understanding, life becomes luminous in its simplicity. The smallest details shimmer with significance because everything is an expression of the same essence. The wind against your face, the rhythm of footsteps on pavement, the heartbeat you feel in another's touch, all echo the same silent recognition. You are home, yet there was never distance to cross. You are whole, yet there was never a fragment to heal. The return does not end anything. It reveals that nothing ever began. In this awareness, you move gently through the world. You build, create, love, and lose. Yet nothing can disturb the quiet beneath it all. The field lives through you, and you live within it. Every breath becomes a prayer without words. Every act becomes an offering without intent. The universe has folded you back into itself, and in that union there is only stillness, only motion, only one vast consciousness exploring its own light. The return is not a destination. It is the recognition that you never left.